Many of you have been waiting for this moment, and so have I. The WNBA All-Star Game ratings are finally in, and they've revealed the truth the league can't hide any longer. The numbers are devastating, and the cause is painful as it is obvious: the absence of Caitlin Clark. It all started with one play. On July 13th, what should have been a routine moment in a competitive basketball game turned into a season-altering incident. J.C. Sheldon, during what was meant to be standard defensive movement, drove her knee directly into Caitlin Clark's groin. The impact was unmistakable. Clark doubled over in pain, clutching herself as the crowd gasped. The referees, silent, no whistle, no review, no foul, no protection for the league's biggest star. Now let's be very clear. This wasn't just incidental contact. Replays showed Sheldon's knee making direct contact in a deliberate way. Clark's reaction told the whole story, grimacing, grabbing at her body, visibly in distress. But worse than the play itself was the silence that followed. The referees allowed it to happen without consequence, and that single moment sent ripple effects throughout the league, both emotionally and financially. This wasn't an isolated incident either. Clark has been targeted all season long: elbows to the head, blindside shoves, eye pokes, rough fouls. Plays that would trigger immediate whistles if committed against any other player have been consistently ignored when it's Clark. She's been the punching bag of the league, and the referees continue to look the other way. And it's not just her anymore. Sophie Cunningham and Aaliyah Boston have also been taking brutal hits. But the most disturbing part, the inconsistency. While opponents seem to get away with dangerous physicality, Indiana Fever players are routinely penalized for the slightest contact. It's blatant, it's unjust, and it's destroying trust between the league and its fans. Now let's talk fallout. The moment news broke that Clark was injured and would miss the All-Star game, everything changed. Social media erupted. Fans made the connection immediately. Hit had sidelined Clark. But what followed was even more alarming: an instant financial collapse. Ticket prices crashed. Before Clark's absence was announced, All-Star Game tickets were selling at an all-time high, $262 on average, with even the cheapest seats going for $121. Hours later, the get-in price dropped to $64. That's nearly a 50% decline overnight. Let that sink in. The All-Star Game, the WNBA's marquee event, turned into a fire sale the moment Caitlin Clark was out. Fans didn't want to attend anymore. StubHub and Vivid Seats were flooded with listings. People were taking losses of $100, $200 per ticket just to avoid going. That's not just disappointment, that's rejection. But it didn't stop with tickets. Merchandise sales plummeted. Concession stands, which were prepared for record crowds, ended up serving far fewer customers. Local businesses in Indianapolis, restaurants, bars, hotels, had ramped up staffing and inventory for what was expected to be the biggest weekend of the year. Instead, they watched their revenues disappear. The Clark effect doesn't just fill seats, it lifts entire communities. Think about what Clark brings: standing ovations during warm-ups, fans lined up around arenas for merchandise, packed restaurants hours before games, fully booked hotels. Her presence transforms any city into a basketball celebration, and without her, it all disappears. Now comes the worst part: the ratings. The 2025 WNBA All-Star Game saw a 36% drop in viewership compared to 2024. Last year's game pulled in 3.44 million viewers. This year, does 2.19 million. That's a colossal loss, and proof that without Clark, fans tune out. And yet, the WNBA tried to spin the numbers. They compared 2025's to 0.19 million to 2023's 850,000 viewers and touted a 158% increase. But fans saw through the smokescreen. Everyone remembered that last year's record-breaking viewership was driven by one player, Caitlin Clark. Comparing this year's ratings to a pre-Clark era is meaningless. This wasn't growth. This was decline. Let's not forget, Caitlin Clark's regular season games draw more viewers than the All-Star Game. On May 17th, Chicago Sky vs. Fever pulled in 2.7 million viewers. May 24's Liberty vs. Fever drew 2.22 million. Even the June 14th Fever at Liberty game hit 2.2 million. These aren't playoff games, they're regular season matchups, and they all outdrew the All-Star Game without her. This isn't just about basketball quality, it's about star power, and the WNBA only has one player whose presence moves mountains. So what did Commissioner Cathy Engelbert have to say about the situation? Not much. Her response to the officiating crisis was weak at best. When asked about fan concerns and player safety, she brushed them aside with generic talking points. Instead of acknowledging the repeated dangerous fouls against Clark, she defended the referees. She dismissed the idea that officiating had become a problem and refused to commit to changes. That's not leadership, that's deflection. And it got worse. During All-Star warm-ups, players wore t-shirts reading "Pay us what you owe us." a message that, under any other circumstance, might have drawn sympathy. But with Clark injured and the league's momentum tanking, it came across as tone-deaf. Fans interpreted it as entitlement players demanding more money while the person generating that money sat hurt on the bench. Social media backlash was immediate and brutal. The shirts were mocked, memed, and dragged across every platform. The visual of players demanding bigger paychecks during one of the league's worst PR moments in years was not a good look. Let's get real. This entire situation exposed a hard truth the WNBA has been avoiding. The league is entirely dependent on Caitlin Clark. The empty seats, the crashing ticket prices, the plummeting ratings, the merchandise slump, the restaurant losses, it all connects back to one player. Without her, the WNBA loses its heartbeat. And yet, the league still refuses to acknowledge it. Clark has endured an entire season of unnecessary physical punishment. Kennedy Carter elbowed her in the head. Dejanai Carrington poked her in the eye. Angel Reese celebrated after hitting her with flagrant contact. And J.C. Sheldon's knee was the final straw. Through it all, the referees have allowed this behavior to continue unchecked. If the WNBA won't protect its star, what message does that send? This isn't about favoritism, it's about fairness. All fans want is for Clark to be treated like any other player. Call the fouls, enforce the rules, ensure basic player safety. That's not too much to ask. The league now faces a fork in the road. They can either make real changes, fix the officiating, hold players accountable, protect their stars, or watch everything crumble. The financial meltdown that followed Clark's injury wasn't just unfortunate, it was predictable. The All-Star disaster turned what should have been the WNBA's biggest celebration into a cautionary tale. Without Clark, fans don't show up. Without Clark, sponsors lose interest. Without Clark, ratings drop. And without Clark, the league's future is in jeopardy. 2. The WNBA. The time for denial is over. 2. The fans demand better. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's the foundation. The league needs to treat her that way, not just for her sake, but for everyone's. Because if she goes down again, there may not be a comeback story next time. So like, comment, and share this video if you saw this coming from miles away. And remember, support Clark, protect the game, and hold the league accountable before it's too late.